what we're going to try is I've been researching particularly terrible takes on gaming, women, men, and the world, just to see what else is out there. To see is there anything that we can learn from, any wisdom that we've not picked up. But I've been finding, to my detriment, I haven't done much research since university, that Jem, your business is gardening and plants. You know what happens when you plant a load of seeds? A load of different weird trees grow. That is that's what's been happening to me. And so the general format is I will read out something and we will mock it mercilessly because it's very silly. But then move on to, unfortunately, these things have a serious side. So we'll have a bit of fun, tempered with a bit of our feminist lens. To start off with, we're going to have a look at US politicians and their particular viewpoint on gaming, particularly men and masculinity. That's where we're going to start. There's a senator, a Republican senator from Missouri called Josh Hawley, and he worries that feminism has driven men to pornography and video. But news for him, we've been doing that anyway. So he's wrong on that. And he's ridiculed. Well, I don't know what a homily is, but he talks a lot about manly virtues. So I imagine that's what that means. He says that he doesn't cite sources for his belief that men were watching pornography more frequently. But that suggests that it's just from personal experience, which means he's watching a lot of porn and playing video games at the moment. He says the left, which includes us, want to define traditional masculinity as toxic. They want to define the traditional masculine virtues, things like courage, independence, and assertiveness, as a danger to society. Do those sound like positive? They sound very positive, don't they?
Yeah, it's a straw man argument, isn't it? It's where you end up arguing over something, and you can't. Those are all good qualities, really. I don't think anyone's going to have a problem with those.
No.
There's a bit of a this is both positive and negative in that incredibly privileged, ignorant men in positions of power that they don't understand. It's not just a British problem, because Hawley is the son of a banker who attended private school before studying at Stanford and Yale, and then clerked for a Supreme Court Chief Justice and became a law professor. And who does that sound like? It sounds like the kind of people that Caroline shouts about a lot, about the people she grew up with. Do you feel like where do you think this kind of argument comes from? These people who have no understanding but still speak so confidently.
I guess because they haven't been told anything else, or that their viewpoint's always been it's always been supported and always been, there's someone behind them all the way through their life, like just kind of encouraging that viewpoint. So there's never been any challenges to it, or any wider viewpoints for them to consider, I suppose.
Yeah, it feels like that's the word, challenge.
Yeah.
They don't get challenged, but
Definitely
they think they've
not
been challenged.
Yeah,
and they're not
it's sorry, I was just going to say it's kind of an example of sort of repressed or suppressed bias and self distaste, isn't it? Because it's basically, as you say, it's likely that this man has been enjoying his porn in his games for a while, and therefore, you know, but he knows that that's not socially acceptable, the gaming and the porn, and comfortable with that combination of and therefore it has to be somebody else's fault that this is happening, somebody else's problem, and you know, he can't help himself because circumstances are such that has created this situation. That is the best he can do, and I think that we have these kind of arguments come out of that. You need a lot of therapy to probably untangle that on an individual basis. So I'm making very sweeping statements about the man that I know nothing about, but that's just.
Well, I think your sweeping statements will be proved to be rather more like toothbrush statements because we're gonna. I think that what we're gonna find is quite a lot of patterns emerging in these particularly terrible takes. So you're completely that thing is there's shame. There is shame at the center of this, which people with privilege, they take that shame that they feel or that they've learned and use their privilege to use that to try and change things. And porn and games are great. You just don't need to worry. You don't need to worry about porn when it comes to it being used as education. That's the main problem, because if you're an adult, then who cares? Let's see. He doesn't like Hollywood either. He thinks Hollywood delivers the toxic masculinity theme ad nauseum in television and film. Is that true? Is Hollywood saying that masculinity is toxic, or is it just providing an endless slew of attractive, strong men in their 30s?
That's a difficult one because it's subjective, I suppose, isn't it? You see what you want to see out of it.
You hear a lot of people, don't you, saying like, "Oh, it's political correctness gone mad," you know, that you can't move, saying, you know, gay couples or same or mixed race families, and you know, it's oh my gosh. And the reality is, if you sit down and you actually count all the examples of these, it's very small. I think the thing is that because of the way the human brain works, because we are designed to spot the difference, you know, we're designed spots aren't what we're used to, because those are usually the risks, that we do latch on to these things when we see this, and then we think it's everywhere, but in reality it isn't everywhere. It's just that it used to be nowhere, and that's the thing. It's that it is there now in small amounts, you know, but it feels to people who, you know, have a concern or feel like they might be threatened by this change, that it's everywhere. So I think no, I don't think. I mean, I do think Hollywood have started and do talk about the concepts of toxic masculinity, and I think they are trying to be more intersectional. And I think the Me Too movement did have and having an effect on Hollywood, and I think that, you know, that was something we weren't going to see overnight, because, you know, these films take years to come out, and then when you shove the pandemic in the middle of that, you know, we're now seeing the film being made in the way of Me Too. So we're now seeing that impact. So I do think they do some of it, and I think there is this idea of Hollywood being sort of left-leaning. But I still think there's plenty there for the alpha male to find.
Yeah, the idea of the hyper-feminized society that we talked about last week. And you say that the thing like Hollywood and media is left-leaning. They're going where the money is. That's all it is. And that means that there's more money to the left. And that is driving them insane. Absolute insanity. As part of the problem is, as we will continue, this is only our first little bit, is these people can be very nice, very friendly, very personable, very well educated, and say things like that, and it gives it that credibility of a senator said this. And he also he cannot stop talking about porn. He says we've got to say that spending your time not working, spending your time on video games, spending your time watching on porn online is not good for you, your family, or your country.
Does he want to set up a self-help group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he just wants other people to talk to him about porn. Because we talk about games and feminism.
Yeah.
That's what we talk about. And I think he needs to just start a podcast about games and porn and how they interact.
We have wandered into that in many of our episodes, I'm sure, in some ways. But so you could say the two are linked.
They what else does he say? There's we'll move on to the radical homosexual extremists in a moment.
Okay.
But you'll find that, as with a lot of people who have very, very strong anti-LGBT views, so often they'll be found to be cavorting with there'll be a male senator who's cavorting with men in secret, and that's just that side of that ultra oppression. The more you talk about something and the angrier you get, the more it's there's something inside. And just normally that hypocrisy is delicious when it happens.
It's like that song from the Mormon musical. Turn it off. Like a light switch. Just got to turn off all the bad thoughts and shove them in a box and close the box, and then you'll be okay. That's basically the gist of it. Yeah, it's the Book of Mormon, the musical. Sorry, I should have said the title properly. It's a very funny song, but yeah.
Have you seen it?
I haven't actually seen the actual show, but I've listened to the soundtrack many times. Yes.
Yeah,
not one for families, let's say.
It was done by the people who made South Park, right. So it must be amazing.
That gives you a little clue there. But yeah, it's very funny.
Mormons, they get a lot of flack because their religion has some extremely odd things. But I think it is unfair to hold them apart from a lot of religions, because they get credibility with time, it seems. So maybe in 2,000 years, Mormons will have a bit more.
Yeah, we once had some Mormons come to my local museum when I was on front of house, and I thought, well, that's strange. Well, because you wonder why they'd be coming to a place like a museum. But I suppose they just fancied having a look around. They had their little name badges and everything. It was quite interesting. Yeah.
So we've got the musical for fun, and the little badges, and the golden plates, and the magic underwear. But there was also the side that they thought that black people were not human beings of Satan until like 20 years ago.
Pretty much, yeah. That's a reference in one of the songs as well, when God changed his mind about black people.
Oh, they are genius, absolute genius. I think
Before we stray too far into Mormon stories, I think.
yes, we'll talk. I'm sure we'll get onto them. I'm sure the Mormons have thoughts on video games as well.
Yeah.
So Josh Hawley, we'll leave him to his porn and video games for the moment. There is a gentleman by the name of Tony Perkins, and he is president of the Family Research Council, which sounds very benevolent and nice. And a quote made in 2012 about either you played Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic?
I know it very well, but I've never played it.
Yeah, it's super like one of the like biggest games ever, and I've never played it. Made by BioWare. I didn't realize. BioWare of Mass Effect and Dragon Age. What have either of you played Mass Effect or Dragon Age?
I know you've played Dragon Age, haven't you, Jim? Yeah.
How would you? What would you say is one of the defining aspects of a BioWare game in terms of characters? What you can do?
And usually the fact that you can choose your parents and choose your gender with them is quite a key thing. That's and you can play as either male or female, and you can have romantic relations with other characters.
Ha! I've caught you. You are one of those radical homosexual extremists, Jem.
Oh my.
I knew!
As Tony Perkins said, it makes no sense that BioWare and Electronic Arts would shatter the family quality in Star Wars games just to appease to radical homosexual extremists like us.
Mm-hmm. So, is he saying that Star Wars is about specific family units and like such like, or is that what he's aiming at?
There is a quote somewhere further along the page that addresses that very question.
I see. I'll come up.
And what else does he say? So yeah, this is the seed analogy I said at the start.
I see.
Where you think, oh, that's silly. He said that in 2012. Maybe he's amazing in all these other ways. But then you Google him a little bit, and yes. He warned, if government can force the normalization or even the celebration as something as universally unnatural as men using women's restrooms and vice versa, then it can force the rest of its agenda on American people very easily, resulting in social chaos and the breakdown of all sexual inhibition and morality.
Mm-hmm.
And again,
sorry, but bathrooms aren't very natural. Even with the best will in the world. I mean, what does it mean? The natural, something as unnatural as sharing the bathroom. Ridiculous statement.
It is.
We are the only species that uses toilets, aren't we?
Technically, yeah. Well, unless like pets are domesticated, they have their own toilets, but that's because we make them.
Yes, we enforced it on them.
Yeah.
You can't say something's universally unnatural. That's such a good point, Jem. Oh, he also took umbrage with gay people in the military. This is someone called. I don't know if he said it or there's someone called McGuinness. who, I think this was him quoting McGuinness, predicting that heterosexual service members would be forced to take sensitivity classes that promote the homosexual lifestyle. Homosexual activists seek to force the US military to embrace their radical views and sexual conduct, no matter the consequences for combat effectiveness.
What are the consequences of combat effectiveness?
See, I've got theories about why the gay panic is so prevalent, which is men panicking if they think a man is attracted to them or coming on to them. That it feels like, I think men think of maybe I'll come on to that another time. I haven't fully fleshed out that thought, and I don't want to